let's usher in our guest, shall we? Obsolete. If you're listening, if you're paying attention, why don't you mic up, cam up, and let's get this show on the road. I'm about 5 minutes, 7 minutes. My God, I'm 7 minutes past due. All right, guys, let's put our hands together for today's guest, the Alaskan rapper, who I don't think lives in Alaska anymore. Here we go. Let's go. Obsolete. How you doing, buddy? Welcome in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about all the delays and all the things and all the stuffs that's been going on. It's
That's the
been
joys of it, man.
it's been a wild month, I have to admit. But I can tell that you're all broken up over Kanye West not being invited to the Grammys. Can you expound on those tears?
I'm more sad that they even no disrespect to Kanye, but I mean, put me on the Grammys, I'd be more entertaining. Like
He said, "Fuck that guy. Let's go obsolete because we're not playing around." Yeah, that's a fair sentiment. That's a fair sentiment. I mean, if you think about the appearances that Kanye has had over the years, like the Taylor Swift thing, and I mean, I've always been like a fan of his like crazy outbursts, right? And even starting back at when he was on with Mike Myers, Canadian. Oh wait, you're not Canadian. Sorry, you're just on a Canadian label. But the
right.
but when he was doing the Hurricane Katrina thing. And he was on with Mike Myers, and he turns to the camera, and he's supposed to say some shit, like he's supposed to read off the prompter, and all he says is, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." I'm like, fuck yeah, Kanye, you tell him. Because you know what? George Bush did not give a fuck about black people. That was the
Don't give a
truth.
fuck about anybody but anybody named Bush,
Yeah, exactly. The only thing he cared about is fucking kowtowing to his fucking corporate overlords at Halliburton and his fucking. And so it was just ridiculous.
Right.
But we're not here to talk about George Bush or Halliburton. I'll vote my channel points for that. Kanye has had so many issues at award shows. Yes, he has. But again, like when he jumped up on with Taylor Swift and was like, Beyonce is better, and I was like, yeah, she is better. I was like, he's making a good point, even if he is looking like a jackass. I mean, it's just, I've been talking about Kanye for the last few weeks because of all that's going on and shit. And I don't know, have you had a chance to listen to any of the new stuff, or do you even pay attention to that stuff? Like, where do you live at with Kanye?
I live in Kentucky, and I've seen all the Kanye, stuff going on since the breakup and all that stuff. Like, I guess I half pay attention because it's obviously, it's there in front of you no matter where you go, like, because Kanye's on that level.
Right.
But like, personally, like, I kind of feel for the guy to a point because, I can't imagine living, I mean, he was already in the spotlight, but everybody knows the Kardashians and knows, like, you pull up to their house and the limelight is in the driveway to guide you to their house. Like, that's just how they all roll, man. And you put him front and center, and then everything spiraled out of control. And who knows what really has happened. And, I don't want to get canceled before I ever go anywhere, but like the Kardashians that's a whole story that we could do a probably fucking 2-day podcast. Like, really
too late, Obsolete. You've been canceled.
Right.
You shouldn't open your goddamn mouth.
Right. So, it's like that whole thing, like, so I kind of feel for the guy, but at the same time, I'm like, man, but who knows? I mean, to everybody else, he might be crazy and shit. He might know more than we all do as far as that whole situation goes. So it's like, it is what it is, man. And that's part of living in the limelight, I guess.
I worked with a guy who believed that people who who we deem to be insane, right? Because I think we can all agree that Kanye rests somewhere in between sanity and reality, and
Mhm.
excuse me. But he was like, you know, he was like, you gotta listen to those people because you never know. What if these people are truly in touch with something else that we don't know about, right? Like there was this
Yeah.
guy that, and this was at the homeless shelter. I worked at a homeless shelter over the winter, and there was this guy who came in and he would always like, he was always asking, he's like, did the FBI call for me? And I'm just like, nah, man, no calls, bro, no FBI. But then he would start talking about a portal. He's like, I gotta get back to my portal. I gotta get back to my portal. And I remember my workmate was my workmate or whatever you call it, my coworker. He was just like, man, you never know though. You never know. What if he has a portal? What if that motherfucker's from another dimension? What if he's just on another level that we don't understand because he's just from somewhere else and he's not in the right place? And like he really believed this shit. I don't know. Like, do you think that could be a possibility in this world that people who are just talking to the walls or screaming at the walls are possibly, just messengers from another dimension?
I mean, one of my favorite quotes, and I put it in as an intro on one of my tracks. There's a fine line between genius and insanity.
Yeah.
You take a guy like Albert Einstein back in his day, still to everybody else was crazy. You put him today, they lock that man up, in a straitjacket 24 hours, the rest of his life. Like they wouldn't let him, he would be crazy to all of us. But
Right.
then you look at what he did, and, sometimes I do agree, like not necessarily, I don't not believe in anything. It's like until I've seen full fledged, like, oh, that can't be real. I literally saw that happen. Anything's possible, man. We live in a world where we are part of a grander scheme of everything that nobody, people can claim to know all day, but nobody really knows, anything. So it's like I try to be open minded, especially with stuff like that, because, like you said, you don't know and you never know. Who knows? We all might wake up tomorrow in a whole different fucking matrix in a whole other different realm. And you know what I mean? Like nobody knows
Yeah.
because everybody that's lived it or seen it, and can actually prove it. I mean, where are they for one? And for two, if they have, like, I don't want to get religious and all that, but it's kind of like the whole heaven and hell thing too. Like the people that know for sure aren't here to tell us, it's like,
Yeah.
so how do we really know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I go along with that. I think I go along with the idea of not knowing what, like there's so much to this reality, and I've taken a plethora of hallucinogens in my time, and I've seen some shit, and they say that that's another gateway to another dimension, or you could just be fucking high on drugs, either one. But it's still, there is this mystery that no one seems to be able to solve, right? Like, you mentioned God, and it's like, no one can sit here and prove it, but we all kind of can feel something, right? Like, and whether you're someone who doesn't believe in God per se or not, there is something I feel like that we can all feel that is bigger than us, that everyone experiences these oddities, these weird shifts in your paradigm where, like, you don't really, you don't really understand what just happened, and you're just sort of like, things can be surreal sometimes, and we always have these moments. And so, like, what's to say that these aren't rips in, our timeline, or reality splitting off? There was this theory that the pandemic was a split in our timeline, right? Where one timeline went off to the pandemic and off into World War III and where we're going now, and then another split went on to just the normal day-to-day shit that we were doing already. So it's of course these are all things I see on TikTok. but
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 yeah,
please go ahead.
I mean, stuff like that. Not necessarily like the splits and stuff, but like even me and my buddy were just talking about that the other day. Like the music scene in and of itself. Like I wasn't heavily involved in the music scene per se pre-COVID, but now like everything since then and getting more back, more involved in the music scene. Like it's almost like flipped on its axis,
Yes.
completely where before it was a whole different vibe, a whole different atmosphere. Like, and I don't want to get too big above where I am, but like I look at guys like Jelly Roll, who's close to where I am, Nashville, not too far from me, where that guy had been doing so much for so long. And as a fan, for one, I watched it, watched him grow and all of that, but never get the love in his own city and stuff like that. To now, where he is, like they have to beg him to come perform. Like, so, watching things like that and seeing, everything being shut down and music kind of having to go to like we're doing now, this online live, live shows online, things like that. Now with everything shifting back, it is crazy. It's almost like it's a whole 360. So I do believe that there, like you said, those two paths. I mean, I think there's a crazy amount of, I'm a firm believer that everybody has their, whatever path they're intended to go. And, you obviously have your choices and things like that. But again, you never really, when you see things like that, it makes you think like, okay, so what if COVID didn't happen? What would still be going on currently? How would everything play out? Because again, life's full of the what ifs.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. That because the pandemic was like a real paradigm shift for so many people.
Yeah.
I just heard that what was it, like the small business licenses in this country has gone up like 41% or some shit, and that's probably some made up number out of my brain. But like the amount of people who decided that they were over answering to their corporate overlords and like showing up at 9 to 5 in their cubicle or like living these miserable lives and they've sort of found different pathways through the pandemic to pursue their passions or pursue whatever it is that makes them truly happy. I think a lot of people, the talking paradigm shift here, like it was such a traumatic experience for everyone at the beginning, especially that we all sort of came. Well, a lot of us came to this conclusion. It's like, well, I'm not going back. Like, there's no way I can go back to whatever that was before the pandemic. It's like I have to keep moving. I'm not going to be able to sit idly in my cubicle and let my life run out. It was such a dramatic change in everything that we were doing that people did decide to take it upon themselves and go for it. I wonder if business licenses dropped 60% during the pandemic and renewing them brought them back up 40%. That could definitely be the case, Immortal. Like because of the pandemic, there were so many small businesses that went out of business and never came back. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's up because because they were so down. But still,
I mean,
it's a good news.
You look at it, the small businesses, exactly like you said, when it happened, me personally, I tell people all the time, I come off sometimes as, those conspiracy theorists or however, I try to look at everything at the grander scheme. My favorite, I tell people all the time, life is chess, not checkers. People for today, live for today, only see today, not realizing everything else moving around them. So, when the pandemic hit, the first thing you see is these big businesses. Like I was working in a restaurant as, working in a kitchen. The day I found out we were shutting down, of course, nobody knew what was going on, yada, yada, yada. And then I went back, obviously after the pandemic was over and went back to doing that. But, watching the small businesses, where I was living at the time and even, my friends back home and things like that having to close and shut down simply because there was all this money floating around, but, a lot of the small restaurants couldn't have people or only had, limited capacities. And then, a lot of these small businesses didn't qualify for the certain loans or didn't qualify for things. So everything was crumbling around them, and it was like, but there was still the certain businesses that obviously made it through. And then all of a sudden, I think really for everybody personally, I know myself, that's what kind of put me on the path to start doing music again. Like, had a full blown come to Jesus, like, what am I doing? I watched, managers like in every business, especially the restaurant industry, they changed the law after the pandemic. Like, they couldn't get away with working, 80 hours and only paying these managers for 40 and things like that. So, you watch the shift happen because people were no longer going to continue to thrive and, throw their life away, not necessarily, but just go work the 9 to 5 or go, continue to try to revive companies that at the end of the day, if you died or you quit and went to another job, they just move somebody in again right behind you. And for me personally, I still work a 9 to 5, but I do my music, on the side as well. But for me, it was like, okay, unless I find that career that's going to do and make me feel fulfilled, that's just not what I wanted to do. And then I saw everybody, like you said, start going online, start doing, streaming, doing stuff from home. And you just watched it completely flip so many people. COVID kind of showed the ugly side of a lot of things that people kind of knew was happening, but didn't really see it until COVID hit. And everybody's like, no, I can't. This isn't what I want to do. If this is what we're going to have for the rest of our lives, I want to, do it my way. And that was me personally, especially.
Well, yeah, no, that was perfectly said. I absolutely agree with that. It's like, man, it for me it was weird because I've been working for myself. Me and my wife have been working for ourselves for so long, and the pandemic ended up forcing us to different platforms and different ways of expression. But at the end of the day, I have to go back into the workforce because there's not, like around where I live in Toledo, Ohio, is not a lot of there's not a lot of options for me right now for playing music and actually making money in that way. So it's like I'm actually having to shift back into the 9 to 5, and it's not bad, but with all of this change and with all these people understanding, they don't want to throw their lives away in some meaningless job that they hate. It's also opened the job market it's opened the job market to you actually have some choices now, right? Because these companies now are having a hard time keeping spaces filled because of what we just talked about. People aren't willing to go and do these crappy jobs and get treated like crap and get paid like shit. And, people are over that, right? And so these employers, these companies are seeing that, and they're having to raise their prices, to raise their pay, which is amazing. But, inflation's, sort of is zeroing that out, right? Or canceling that out. But, it did leave it open to where I'm like, well, if I'm going to go back into the workforce, then I want to do something I like to do, not some bullshit that I hate doing just for a paycheck. And that's what's so good. That's what's interesting about this time. I'm like, that I was talking earlier in the show about this marketing job or whatever that I was interviewing for. And I'm just like, I don't want that fucking job. Like I'm not that desperate, but I mean, not to say that I don't need money or I don't need a job. I do, but like, I'm not that desperate that I'm going to run off and do some soulless, shit job selling potato chips to Walmart. Like that's not me. I'm just not doing that.
And see, me personally,
Go ahead.
like I said, I still work a job. I actually work in a cemetery, man. As I help them, do all that stuff. And that's, I started that job working with a buddy of mine. It's he owns part of it and all that. Anyway, but that was me as far as doing jobs. Like I went, the jobs I've held since pre-COVID, I guess I've taken. So where on a Friday, if I need to go do a show, hey boss, I got to leave out this time. I'll be back this time, whatever, because at the end of the day, I'm going to work for somebody that understands I'm going to be there every day. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to give you 110%. But those times where I need to go do what I'm doing as far as my music and things like that, that's that's more important to me. No disrespect to any job. There's a million of them out there. I can go make whatever money. I'm 33. I have a good record. You know, I'm golden. I can go work wherever, but I need to focus, you know, because that's what I want to do, whether it's blowing up and like we were talking about earlier, you know, I'll take Kanye's spot at the Grammys, haha, you know, if that's the route for me and my path to go in this life, great. Or if it's behind the scenes doing something with this music and helping these other people build these things and all of us winning, you know, whatever that may be, that's what I want to do. It's not working some job that, yeah, it's great. It's got vacation days. I get paid, you know, great money and I get, you know, benefit, yada, yada, yada. That's great. You know, no disrespect, but that's not for me. You know, if I get to be 45, 50 years old and, you know, okay, it's not really panning out, I guess I'll go get one of them, you know, jobs I can go work at till I kick the bucket and hope I get enough retirement. Like,
no. Reina brought up a good point about just sort of circling back to what Immortal said about if business licenses dropped 60% during the pandemic and renewing brought it back up 40%, you know, that's not really an increase. And Reina sort of piggybacked off that and was saying that that's like when Biden said vaccines were up 100% since he made it into office. Like, no shit, there wasn't a vaccine before that, right? Yeah, and that's just classic politicians fucking taking credit for, you know, shit they didn't do.
and not only that, but you look at all these jobs that are like, oh, you know, we'll give you a $100 bonus or whatever bonus if you're vaccinated and take a job. Like, yeah, so the incentives were there as well. So it's like, of course, it's going to be up. Like,
it's going to be up. Yeah, they're offering hamburgers for shots, weed for shots, beers. It's like, how are we promoting health in this country if we're trying to give people fucking greasy ass hamburgers to get this shot in their arm? Doesn't really.
The best quote I heard from somebody was, you know, that was my whole take on the vaccine, like not knocking anybody. Everybody has their own choices, man. I'm not going to say or tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do. Me personally, you know, the best quote I heard about it was, I have asthma. You know, the lady said, I have asthma attacks. You know, if I'm having an asthma attack, you don't have to give me an extra $100 to take my inhaler. Like, I know I need that. You know, there shouldn't be that incentive like, hey, come get the vaccine and we'll give you, you know, X. Like,
but it was very funny that they felt that they needed to get an incentive, right? Like, you would think that people would just be lining up in droves to get this magical elixir, and you know, there was a lot of hesitancy, you know, and the fact that they're trying to bribe people says a lot to me. It says a lot because, I mean, the facts are that, you know, it was a rushed thing, even though I know that the technology's been around for 10 years or whatever. But it was a rushed thing, and people were scared of that. And of course, I'm not trying to say nothing about nobody going and get the vaccine. Everybody, go get the vaccine. It's there for you if you want to. I don't care if you do or don't, whatever, because guess what? We're getting COVID either way. So it's happening either way. So I don't give a fuck if you get the vaccine or not. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to hug you. And I'm still going to take my mask off around you if you allow me to. Yo, that lady with the inhaler said it perfect. In Alberta, they were giving away $1 million in lottery, I believe. Jesus, who is the guy? Who's the lady with the inhaler?
Talking about that quote, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody I saw in a Facebook video. It was some comedian, but it was like a whole little 3-minute spiel. She was talking about, you know, how they were incentivizing the vaccine and stuff, and she was like, you know, that's just the way I look at it. Like, if it's something I had to have, why would you need to convince me to take it? Like, you wouldn't have to tell me, you know. It's like, obviously I fucking need it.
He just retold the story. Oh, I see. Yeah. I see. Thank you. My bad.
Look, I saw the comment and at first I was like, inhale. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, no, I get what they're saying. I get you. No, it's definitely it was definitely weird, but you know, I'm not I don't want to come off as an anti-vaxxer, folks. You know that
No,
there's that.
I'm not pro or anti. Like I said, it's everybody's choice, man.
Yeah,
We all, whatever you choose, however you choose to feel about it. That's just my opinion. We're all entitled to that too. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Some people will tell you their opinion whether you want to hear it or not, and that's just how it goes. But yeah, man, there's the name of your album. I gotta say is interesting, and I would love for you to go into it. It's called the Dystopia of an MC, right? Do I have that
yes, sir.
right? And
Yep.
everybody, you can get his new album. And if you hold on, I got him under OBS, which I thought was funny. But yeah, right there's the link for Obsouleet. You can get all of his you can get physical copy of the album. You can stream it stream it. There's links in this link there. So go ahead, check it out, and go follow Obsouleet up on all his socials and such. But can you kind of go into what this album is about, and what were you talking about? The dystopia of an MC.
So I was watching this show called Heels. I'm sure a lot of people know what that is, with the guy from Arrow. It's like a wrestling show.
Oh.
And at one point they went to this venue and it was called something something Dystopia. And that word just immediately caught my attention. I was like, man, I'm sure I've heard it before, but didn't really catch it or something. I had to know what it meant. So I went and looked it up. And it's basically like you're creating your own reality, in a sense. Like whatever you're passionate about building, that's your dystopia. So then from there started stemming, when it came time for album ideas, I was like, man, I want to incorporate that somehow. So my album is basically the last 2 years, 2.5 years of building these songs that I've done and putting pieces together, things falling into place like they needed to for me to even get to this point to say, hey, I'm going to put an album together. So, and I always tell people I'm an artist. I'm not a rapper. I'm not anything. I'm an artist first and an MC. I'm old school. And so that was really, I was like, okay, this album is exactly that. That's my dystopia. It's, yes, there's those tracks on there that you want to vibe and nod your head to. And then there's that raw, rugged, who I am. I am on the microphone. I try to be the same person I am in real life. I let that flow through my music, and I'm passionate about what I do. So, like I said, that dystopia thing, it just kind of fit. So that's where the whole name came from, because the album is exactly that. It is the reality that I'm building around myself with this music.
Yeah, that's dope. Like, well, when I hear it, when I hear dystopia, I relate to dystopian, and think of like this dystopian, the dystopian future, maybe after, like in Brave New World or something, the future, or 1984, this dystopian future where, people. What's going on? Oh, hold on, let me. What? Get out of here! I'm not talking to nobody. Sorry, I thought my phone was off, but it is not. With dystopia, so I took it in a different way, but I like your way better. It's not like, because I took it in more of in a negative connotation, and this is like what you're saying is almost like a yeah. I mean, you're creating your own reality. You're building yourself up, and like listening through, you're talking about you've lost it all, and you're building it back. Is that something, is that just a lyric, or is that a reality for you?
That is a reality, man. Aaron, him and I kind of went live the night before the album dropped, kind of touched base, and obviously you dropped the link. People can read a little bit more into it, but this was 13 years in the making, basically. For the first 10 or so years I had done music, I was part of a duo. Long story short, no shade thrown, no nothing, just didn't work out. We were talking about COVID earlier. That was really when I had to come to Jesus meeting with my fiance. And we kind of talked about, what I wanted to do. I had, still had people hitting me up all the time wondering if I was doing music or if I wanted to collab on stuff or wanted to do this, wanted to do that. But I knew what I had done for the last 10 or so years was not what I wanted to continue to do as far as my music. Not necessarily that it was bad or any, bad images or anything like that, but I knew that name and that was affiliated with everything else that I had done that wasn't who I was per se. So when I'd come up with the name Obsouleet and everything, once her and I had talked and kind of decided I was going to do this, I decided I was literally starting from square one. I wanted to do it my way. I wanted to rebrand, rebuild, go by a completely different name, and do it how I wanted to, not necessarily push out a whole bunch of songs and flood the market and all that. Just really kind of take my time and rebuild everything for myself and do it, for myself, not necessarily for myself, but like, I do everything for my kids. You'll hear a lot about that too, but really with the music, I wanted to do it my way. Like I had done it, everybody else's way and had allowed, had to move on everybody else's time and stuff like that. And I didn't want that to be an option again. I wanted to, if I fail, I'm the reason I fail. And I know to some people that sounds arrogant or anything like that, but for the longest time, I didn't believe in myself. Me and my fiance have been together going on almost 4 years now. And she finally got me to the point where I realized who I truly am. Like I said, my music, you'll learn a lot about me. But I believing in myself, I never thought was even a possibility. All my life, I've heard the complete opposite. And throughout, the last couple of years, she's finally gotten me to the point where I not only believe in myself, but I know if I continue to do what I'm doing, make the moves that I'm doing, and continue to be the genuine person that I am, like this is no facade, no nothing. You see me at a show, I'm the same guy that you see sitting on this interview, the same guy that you see kicking it with my kids on a Sunday at the park, and doing it how I wanted to do it, my storytelling, doing things like that, that this is how I wanted to do it. And she finally got that in my head. Like, not only can I do that, but it can be so much bigger. And throughout all of that, that's how I've kind of gotten to the point where last year I had done my first show, by myself, obviously, but the first time I had stepped on stage in almost, 9 years at that point, I think. And from there, last year I did almost 8 shows, I believe it was. I've done a few already this year, and I'm building connections and things like that throughout all of this. But it really took finally believing in myself to get to that point to get this far, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does, man. That whole believing in yourself thing is a hard thing. It's a hard nut to crack, especially
It
if you
is.
didn't come up with people who are encouraging in your life, or who people who maybe getting bullied or something, like that type of shit will always drain you. Or a teacher, like there's always like an educator out there that likes to shit on people's goals and spirits because they're failing at life. It's really hard, man. And if you don't have that sort of innate sensibility, then finding it and getting it together is just it's wild. So what were some of the things that sort of brought you to that belief in yourself?
Really, watching her for, she's been, one of my best friends. I met her in 2009, man. Her and I remained friends throughout the years. We finally got together in about 2018. My mama Maggie and my kids, man, just watching them. It didn't matter what I do to my kids. Obviously, my kids always loved me and loved dad, but it was like seeing them react to my music and seeing, people like my mama Maggie who don't listen to rap a whole lot, not her style per se, but just the things I've heard her say about my music and knowing that people like her can relate to it. And, just watching people, around me that hear it and seeing them appreciate who I am. Because my biggest thing is my kids. Like I said, I want my kids to see, if my son just, came to me tomorrow and said, Dad, I want to be an astronaut in the ocean like that masked wolf dude, I'm going to go buy him a spacesuit. Same thing with my daughters. And, because at the end of the day, we no matter what anybody believes, no matter what, your religious beliefs or anything like that, in my opinion, this is the life we're living currently. We don't know what happens outside of that. Chase your dreams, man. And that was really, I remember being that kid and telling my quote unquote parents my dreams and what I wanted to do when I grew up and getting laughed at, and it's like I was never going to be that parent to my kids. So really, this is my way of showing them, like, everybody in the world is going to tell you no, but tell yourself yes one time and see what happens. And they're the way they love my music. My daughter knows most of my songs word for word. And like I said, my fiance really just drilling it in my head, like, babe, you got the talent. Not only that, but it's everything else outside of that. The way I talk to people, the type of person I am, like, it's things like that where to come from what I come from and still be the way I am, not necessarily I want to be a motivational speaker or try to inspire anybody, but if somebody can hear my music, my favorite reference to go to, Me and My Depression on my album, that's one of the rawest, most, you want to know a good bit about me, that's me. Like, that chorus of that is literally me fighting back and forth with myself. I'm a piece of shit. I'm never going to do nothing, to, no, man, I can do this. Like, I know I can do it. And that's what it's about, man. And everybody goes through it in some shape, form, or fashion. Call it depression, call it anxiety, call it whatever you want to. Everybody battles themselves. But if you can finally get to that point where you're like, I can do it. Everybody else might think I can't, but if I think I can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And great things happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's everything, man. It's like if you can't believe in yourself, then it's not gonna happen. And it's like, and however you gotta get there, just get there, Um, it's beautiful that you have a support system, like your partner and your mom, and you quoted, you said your parents, and you did air quotes. Did you grow up? Were you adopted, or what was the?
So no, I lived with my biological parents
Uh-huh.
most of my life. I haven't spoken to them since 2015. And to be quite frank with you, I don't care to speak to them unless maybe it's a headstone after it's all said and done.
Oh, geez.
And I know that's a harsh pill for a lot of people. And I'm gonna put it as blunt as I can. If I went to the doctor tomorrow and they told me my leg was infested, with gangrene, and they'd have to cut it off so I could live, I'm not gonna keep my leg because I like having my leg.
Hmm.
And it wasn't even a matter of that. It's just toxic is toxic. I grew up in a very toxic environment. They can feel how they want to feel about it, and maybe one day, they'll have their own come to Jesus meeting. I hope so for them. I don't hate them for, how everything is or anything like that. But I've forgiven them because that's who they are, but I don't have to be around them and allow them to influence my life, if that makes sense. So when I said my mama Maggie, she is my step aunt by marriage, and she's been around my whole life. But here, the last probably 5 or so years, her and I've got very, very close. And she loves me more and looks out for me more than my own mother could have ever thought about doing. And I haven't had that since 2008 when I lost my grandmother, who was really like my mom figure growing up. That was really the early years of learning what a man was and being, a respectable person and things like that. I still think about her every day. I lived with her for about 4 years growing up. And that was really the most parental figure I had up to that point in my life. And then now, like, me and my mama Maggie talk for probably 3-4 hours every week at least, if not more. Like, she is that person in my life. So that's why I put the parents in air quotes, because like I said, man, a lot of people, I still speak to some family and things like that, but everybody that knows me, man, I'm not the people that they've tried to make me out to be or tried to make me believe I was. And that is why I just had to distance myself, man, and to not get too deep. In 2015, they really put their cards on the table. And the last thing my mother had said to me was I needed to change my last name. I wasn't part of her family. And I looked at her and I was like, well, it took you 27 years to admit what I knew my whole life, but it's not your last name to tell me I need to change anyway. But, peace out to you. And that was it. I saw him in court twice over some dumb shit. And,
Wow.
they were trying to, they called CPS on me for, fraudulent shit about my kids. The caseworker basically laughed and was mad she had to waste her time coming to my house. And then they wanted their grandparents' rights. And that went on for about a year and a half. And that basically got thrown out. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, because I think the lawyer was basically like, look, I can keep taking your guys' money, but, you guys don't stand a chance. Like, just give it up. But yeah, so, I mean, that's why I am, and you'll hear a lot of that in my music and the references to that. Like I said, I don't hate them anymore. And that took a long time for me. I still don't like the thought of it. There's the reality. I will probably see them again one day or something along the lines, but they are who they are. And that's their choices. I know my mother's mom, very personally, and I know what my father grew up around, and those people were nothing like that. They chose to be the way they are. And I can't influence that or change how they feel about me or anything else. And I'm not going to try. I don't have to. I am my own person. I have my own kids, my own legacy to leave behind, which I will. And I'm not going to let them tarnish it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, just I think some people mistake, people who they're blood related to, as someone that you're stuck with forever, and that you have to deal with this, and this is just part of being in a family. But the reality is like, no, blood don't mean that you have to deal with abuse. It doesn't mean that you have to deal with toxic behavior. It doesn't mean that you have to deal with their bullshit. And, I can't even go into it myself, but like, I have some shit that's going on in my family, not my immediate family, but in my family, that is just despicable. And it's like, how could you even try to do that to your own brothers and sisters, and again, this is not my sister or anything, but it's, some family and stuff. But like, it's like, I can't imagine that, but then, I can, because they obviously have been able to put up that barrier, that blood barrier or whatever. They don't care. They're willing to go through great lengths to cause, chaos in other people's lives. So why should you give that back? And why should anybody have to deal with that? And you just don't. You can say goodbye and you don't have to talk to them until they're ready to come around and be human beings about it. And even then, you don't have to talk to them. So.
Some people are put on this earth to just be very self-absorbed and very, so that's all they really care about. And at the end of the day, you can't help who people are. My grandmother, like I said, I lost her in 2008. I remember the first time she ever told me about respect, and I still to this day live by that. She said, everybody says, respect is earned, not given, and she's like, that's not true. You respect everybody. And even when somebody disrespects you, you don't in turn disrespect them. You just respect that you respect the fact they are that person, and you treat them accordingly from there. And to me that resonated, and I didn't realize it then, but the older I got, it's the truth. Everybody chooses how they treat people. Everybody chooses how they want to be. They can blame it on whatever they want to. We all have horrible childhoods. We all have shitty ex-girlfriends or shitty whatever. They can blame it on what they want to, but we all choose how we act and treat people. And at the end of the day, you can't change that about a person. So if they act a certain way, you place them accordingly wherever you need to in your little box, your little dystopia of life, and move on.
Yeah, your granny was a Jedi by the sounds of it.
She was a very, like I said, the 4 years I lived with her, man, I still to this day, I lost her in 2008, and I'd do just about anything to have 5 minutes of conversation with her. But the 4 years I got, man, I could spend the rest of my life trying to make enough money to repay her back for all of the knowledge and the things that she taught me, because it was a very pivotal point in my life. I was about 11 years old when I moved in with her, and I didn't move back until I was almost 14, 15, I believe. And just in those few years, man, I finally saw what being a parent was, for one, and what, having somebody to look out for you. And my grandmother, everybody used to say she was one of those, she'd give you the shirt off her back in the pouring rain and wouldn't even complain about it. Like, and watching her and the type of person she was just in general. And she came from a shitty childhood. You know, my grandmother was afraid of the dark her whole life until the day she passed because of her childhood. And my grandmother was just, like I said, she was that type of woman. She took care of everyone around her and you know, never really took time for herself, I don't believe, but she was an angel, man. She really was. And she inspired me in a lot of ways. And again, you know, that's where I learned to kind of be who I was. I didn't know it then, but you know, the older I get and the more I look at it, I'm like, you know, I just see things and I'm like, man, that's her, you know, like I know exactly where I got that from.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like the I think an important thing for people to understand is that is like protecting your own energy is a huge thing. It's a huge,
Yeah.
huge thing, and
Mental, like you said at the beginning, man, mental health is a crazy thing, and people don't understand how much not just stuff like that, but especially stuff like that affects all of that. And once you start trying to find that inner peace, like no matter what anybody's going through, find that happy, whether it's sitting down playing video games for 2 hours a night after you get home from work or whatever it may be, because that's the most important thing. If your mental health's off, nothing you do really makes sense or is relevant, because you're not going to be happy. You're not going to give it all of you, because you're just, that disconnect is there. And it took me a long time, you know, because to me, I was that kid. I grew up, depression ain't real, you know, that's all in your head, haha. And for the longest time, until I realized what depression and anxiety and shit was, I was like, hey, what? No, something's wrong, mate. You know, something ain't off. I need to figure it out. And then finally realizing, like, oh shit, no, this is real. Like, this is, you know, and it's a lot of people, you know, it's hard. It really is.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It took me a long time as well to figure out what depression was, and like to figure out that, oh, that's why I was always drinking and drugging in my 20s, because I couldn't stand, you know, being in.
Pushing it down. Just pushing it down.
Exactly, you're just ramming it down, and you're just waiting for it to come out another day, and
Yep.
and when I got sober. Oh yeah, when I got sober, it came right the fuck out. It came right the fuck out, and that's the shit now, and that's exactly what I'm dealing with now. You know, and that's almost 10 years ago. That's almost 10 years ago, and I'm still dealing with this shit. And I mean, it's a lifelong journey, obviously, but it's still like.
Yep.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's like how do you, when you're in a depressive state, you know, or in an anxious state, what is some of the ways that you sort of pull yourself out of that?
Really, my kids are a big thing, like, especially with depressed stuff. I unfortunately don't live, you know, I can't drive down the street and go pick my kids up. My kids live in Oklahoma. I live in Kentucky, so I get them for, you know, the summer visits. We just had them for spring break for the whole week, which was super dope. I got to do a show. They got to come on stage with me and, you know, get on stage, and they'd never seen me perform. So, you know, that was cool for them. And they had so much fun. They were supporting everybody else and stuff. So that was cool. But really, when I'm, you know, in my darkest spots, they're the ones, you know, I'll video chat with them or something like that. And just talking to them, they kind of always snap that out of me. With the anxiety, like, music is really my go-to. I'm an awkward person for the most part, but I've gotten past that through music, because going to these shows and networking and trying to not necessarily market myself, but just talking to people and trying to build genuine connections and networking with people, you know, I've had to kind of come out of that shell. So music is really, you know, and the depression as well. When I start getting, you know, down on myself or start doubting what I'm doing, it's like, okay, I kind of kick myself in the ass, and I'll come in here and just, even if I listen to beats for 2 hours and scratch a bunch of scribble in the, you know, notebook, just try to kick myself out of that funk. Because again, that happy place, man, whatever it may be, I'm not saying, you know, the medicines and stuff, everybody does it their way, but it all starts with that happy spot, you know, that you find within yourself, whatever the hell it may be. You know, just enjoy life, and remind yourself that somebody out there's got it worse than we do. You know, that's really the grander scheme for me. It's like, I'm sitting here complaining about things that somebody else, you know, in a way worse position would be grateful for. Like, what am I so depressed about? So
Yeah, there is always someone worse off, man. And working at the homeless shelter made me realize that really hard because,
I
my
bet.
God, I mean, because coming out of my addiction, I had a support team. I had people in my corner, and a lot of folks that I met over this winter at my, my job. I was, they had nobody. They were abandoned and just kicked to the side and didn't have anything. And so it was nice to be that for them in those moments because they would have these moments where it's like, hey, and they called me Mr. Mike. Hey, Mr. Mike, I got into the program. I'm going to be in the program now, like, in the housing program. And I'm like, oh, shit, hell yeah. And I'd give them high fives and shit, like, and just, make it as much of a big deal as possible for them because I just wanted them to feel like they had somebody that was proud of them because you're talking in the amount of young people, the amount of youth that came through that door is heartbreaking, man. There's so many kids that came through that door, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, just young kids who don't have anybody or anything, and they're just there. And I mean, it's just sad, man. It was a very sad. There was a lot of sad moments, but the best part about it was being able to, to make them laugh or to be proud for them in the moments they needed it, or to just even feed them. You know what I mean? Just taking that time to give yourself of someone else. I find that to be very medicinal as well to
Yeah.
to to go out and help other people when you're not feeling at your best is go out and help and give yourself more. I don't know. Have you ever had any experience with that? Just, I mean, not with homeless in general, but like with just giving yourself for someone else, just in times of your own need.
And that's one of the things, like my grandmother, she used to work in a nursing home, like, but for the elderly people that kind of had like the dementias and the
Hmm.
didn't really have, family to come around and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she not only worked there, but I watched her, go there all the time outside of work and stuff. And I don't do that stuff in my life now per se, but I'm one of those people, like, I always try to hold the door open for somebody, or when I'm, standing in line at the counter, and if there's somebody in front of me, or, at the cashier, just try to shoot the shit and just make conversation, or just
Yeah.
do something, in general. Like, it cracks me up. I see people all the time. I'll grab the door as they're coming in the door, and some people just kind of look at you because you look at me and you wouldn't assume, like, oh, okay. And it's like, just stuff like that. It cracks me up because people, stuff like that gets lost, man. You don't realize, like, somebody might be having a shitty ass day and you just held the door open for them on their way in the store, and they might be like, hey, what was
Yeah.
I even mad about? Like, that was cool, and just go on about their business. So it's like just stupid stuff like that. Try to make people laugh, when I'm around. I don't necessarily want to be the center of attention, but you'll see me cutting up and just trying to have a good time, man. Because like I said, there's enough stuff in life to make us miserable, but there's not enough stuff in life to enjoy, man. And I just try to enjoy every minute of it while I can.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, man. You got to find your happiness. I think that's a good thing to come back to is like just finding your happiness. Did have you ever messed around with like meditation at all? Like that was a huge thing for me is
No, I've never
meditation.
really done meditation. I've tried to do like meditation, sitting down and just zoning out per se, and I've noticed that doesn't really work. But I think, again, with the music, man, sometimes there will be times I sit here and put the headphones on listening to beats, and I'll look at my phone, and I've sat there for 30, 40 minutes just listening to beats, didn't write shit down, didn't
Mm,
just zoned out, man. And then I try to start thinking about what I was thinking about or whatever I was doing, just nothing, man. I just kind of just zoned out for
yeah.
a little bit. And so I think, again, in its own way, it's become kind of like that meditation as well. But I understand why people do it because I've read a lot of stuff about it, like especially with the mushrooms and the various ways to do things like that as well. So I understand why, because especially with hallucinogens, man, that, again, talking about what we were talking about earlier with the crazy matrix shit, we don't really know, like, in that stuff kind of it makes you more susceptible. You know, it opens your third eye, if that's what you want to call it. Like,
Sure.
it makes you realize there's more to life than just us. That's really at the core of all of it. That's what that stuff is it makes you realize in the grand scheme of things, we are a piece of grass in a football field the size of the earth that no like, you know.
Yeah, man. No, you're right. You're right, man. That the idea of music and even if you are taking mushrooms or whatever it is, you're that is a form of meditation. Being creative is a form of meditation. So is exercising is a form of meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be something that you're sitting still and you're trying to clear your mind and join the river of consciousness. No, it's like it can be whatever it is for you. And what it I feel like the main thing is whatever is bringing you to present, right? Like whatever is bringing you to this moment right now.
I'm
Oh,
back to that center, man.
yeah, come back to center. And if that's what it does, if that's what it is for you, listening to beats or writing music or you know running a marathon, whatever it is for you, it's like that's beautiful. I mean, and there's so many people who don't even try to explore these things, and they tend to be the ones who are yelling at you in a fucking parking lot for cutting them off, or like, people like yelling at the manager. It's like, let me speak to your manager. It's like these people who never took a minute to examine themselves, to take a look at their behaviors, like, asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I acting like this? I mean, this was a very, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody, because this was a very challenging thing for myself, to sit there and step back a moment and be like, why am I feeling this? Why am I doing this? But you start practicing these things and it starts becoming sort of second nature. And I found myself doing that the other day. I quit smoking weed for a month because I'm trying to get a new job, not because I'm on some spiritual fucking movement here. I'm just I gotta piss clean, goddammit. Moving Dutchman, what's going on, my friend? Welcome in, welcome in. Good to see you, buddy. I haven't been smoking weed, and so like in the first few weeks, I was a little testy, and then I threw in not smoke and not drinking coffee now. So now I'm just like this, and now I'm just this complete fucking mess of a human being. But over this weekend, I just mostly slept. But over this weekend, there was moments where I'm becoming frustrated with whatever the situation is, and I've gotten so. And again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I've gotten so good at least, taking a moment, taking a breath, and asking myself, what the fuck is happening here? You're not really mad at them, or at that inanimate object. You're mad at you. What are you upset at? What is it that's getting you? And some of it's just a chemical reaction to cutting yourself off from caffeine. But some of it is just, work that you're working on, because I don't know. I tend to just start getting mad at other people because I'm frustrated about stuff. You're actually in Dutchland? Well, I'm glad you're home, buddy. I'm glad you're home. Good to be home sometimes, right, man? Speaking of home, you're home. I read somewhere that you're from Alaska. It's like, what's that all about, baby? I gotta know.
I was born in Alaska. I lived there till I was about three, I believe, 3 or 4 years old.
I see. So that's a very
Unfortunately, I
young.
don't remember much about it, but I'd have seen like some videos and like the pictures, the old VHS tapes and shit like that. But that's on my bucket list. I want to go up there eventually again and just kind of see everything, because from what I saw, it's definitely beautiful up there. But it's one of those crazy things. I tell people like, oh yeah, I was born in Alaska. It's like, no, the fuck you weren't. It's like, no, I was.
Yeah, yo, dude, I definitely want to go up there. Do you still have family up there, or family that you're in contact
No,
with?
not that I know of. So again, father was in the military, so that's just where he happened to be stationed at. That the time they decided to bring me into the whoever decided to bring me into the world, and then they lived there until he had gotten. I want to say he had gotten out and then moved to New York. That is why we were only stationed there as long as he was. So,
Moving Dutchman said, "Real men are born in Alaska." Is that true?
hell yeah, he's not wrong.
He said, "You're goddamn right."
I mean, I'm a tough son of a bitch. I'm still here, bro. I should have been dead twice, actually once, not so much, but the second time I took, about 440, 460, something like that amount of fucking electricity to the back of my head for a couple seconds and fucking knocked me out for about 2 hours. So, yeah.
Whoa, shit. Yeah. How did that happen?
2014, 15, I can't remember. So I was working this job with my buddy. It wasn't even my real job. It was something I was doing on my day off to go make some extra money. And we were tearing machines apart, man. Wasn't supposed to be no power in them. Apparently, I found the one that had power. And all I remember was climbing in and then waking up outside. And I was like, looked like I should have been on The Walking Dead, dude. I was foaming at the mouth. I couldn't talk. I was just, And they put me in the ambulance and they were asking me some questions and I fucking passed out again. And then I woke up in the hospital. I still didn't really know what the fuck happened. And the doctors start talking to me. And at that point, I could kind of start talking and, was a little cognizant. And they're like, all right, we're treating you like you have an altered mind state. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, an altered mind state? And they're like, oh, we're basically treating you like an overdose patient because we don't know what happened. Oh. And I was like, well, listen, I'm a fucking avid weed smoker. That's all I fucking do. That's all I've done. I didn't overdose on no fucking weed. So I'm not sure what happened, but I know it's not that. So, and about that time, they're looking me over and they realized I had this little burn mark on the back of my head that looked like an electrical burn. So then they looked at my ankles and I had the exit wounds on top of my ankles. I still have the scars there. And, they realized I had been electrocuted. Well, about that time, my buddy that I was with had finally gotten there, and it was his aunt that had owned the building. And apparently I had shut down the whole, power grid, what was left of the building. And that's how they figured out what was going on because it triggered the alarm system and all that shit when there wasn't supposed to be no power in that port. Yeah, I don't know. But needless to say, for about 3 months after that, I couldn't do anything, man. I laid on a couch. If I coughed, sneezed, I felt like I was going to die, just drained. And it finally, after about 3 months, I was finally able to start moving, I could walk and I could do all that shit, but literally I felt like exhausted, I guess. Like if you just ran fucking a week-long bender, I guess, on some meth or some shit, didn't sleep. Like I was just, where you were there, but you weren't fucking there, right. Man. I remember at one point, probably about 2 months after, I went to go mow my yard and, just pull start the lawnmower, and I couldn't even get enough strength to pull the fucking cord to start the lawnmower, man. Like it was bad.
Wow. Holy shit. Do you feel like if you would have been a little older or something that would have ended your life, or if you've been like...
I don't really know, man. It's crazy that I think the only reason, obviously there's more to it than that, but the biggest reason I had to have hit and when it touched my head, it had to have just immediately dropped me because that amount of electricity, like once I realized I shut down, the whole fucking grid in the building and shit, that amount of electricity should have ended me. And I don't remember, like I said, I remember climbing in and then waking up outside foaming at the mouth. We were down like 2 flights of stairs in this part of this factory and shit. It was crazy, man. But I obviously, I'm not sure what if I'd been a little older or anything, if I, would have made a difference. I think really if I'd have stuck to it longer than I did, or, because I went to the doctor probably about 2 weeks after it happened. And basically trying to figure out, what's the long-term effects, because at that point, like I said, I still couldn't really move around a lot, couldn't do a whole lot. And he's like, basically, we don't know what to say. Most people that take that amount of electricity, it goes one of 2 ways. You either die or, something's wrong, like you're, paralyzed or, you have severe nerve damage or something. Yeah. So we don't know. Like you might have problems later in life, but for now, just kind of be thankful you're here, and there you go.
That's fucking
So
wild, dude. That's fucking.
yeah.
Immortal says, "What the hell is the compensation like in America for that?"
What's fucked up is I didn't even get paid for it because it happened on like a side job I was just doing for a friend. And come to find out, which I found out later on, technically all she would have had to do was say we weren't allowed to be there, and then I could have probably went to jail too. So it was a whole clusterfuck of a situation, man. Like shit that happens to me, man. I tell Immortal all the time, I need to write a book because it would make a great movie. Nobody would believe it. Like, no, that didn't fucking happen. It's like, no, no, it did.
Wow, dude, that's wild. And that is so wild to get
Yeah.
fucking. Oof. I've been electrocuted a couple times in my life, but that is not my experience. That is
Dude,
wild.
I wouldn't even plug in my cell phone charger for like the first month and a half, 2 months after that. Like I'd have my ex-wife get my phone and plug that shit. I would not, dude, it fucked with me for a while, man. It scared me. It really did. Cause that amount, like I said, I've been shocked before, fucking with outlets or, jumping cars and shit. I had a little shock, but dude, like I said, the biggest memory I remember was waking up outside and that EMT looking at my buddy and was like, I think your buddy's dead. And he's like, no, he's still alive. He's just like, because I'm just sitting there, dude, just shaking and shit, bro. It was, and then they're talking to me, and I could tell they were talking to me. I remember that, but don't really remember what they were asking me. And then it was like I passed back out in the ambulance and then woke up in the hospital. I don't know how much longer it was, and they're kind of talking, and I'm kind of like coming to and realizing what the fuck was going on. And yeah, it was crazy, man. That whole ordeal, it was a shitty situation to begin with, but there's clearly a reason I was here. I'm still here, man. So that was,
Yeah.
that's why I try to look at it.
Yeah, you said you had exit wounds out of your ankles? Like, that's.
I still have the scars. You can see it. They're a little more faint now, but I still have two scars about that big above both my ankles because it has. I'm sure if you shave my head down, there's probably a burn scar on the back there too. But that's where apparently it came out because you have the rubber fucking shoes. So I had to have been grounded because the floor we were on was concrete. So I'm guessing it had to jump from me back into the concrete or something. But yeah, they found the burn mark on the back of my head and then found those. And then, yeah, I've still got the scars on my ankles.
That's wild, man. Did you notice any sort of, I mean, besides the physical, and being, weak or whatever, the side effects were, did you notice any sort of mental effects that it had on you? Did you like get superpowers or anything?
Dude, I tell everybody all the time, I'm mad I didn't get some kind of superpower. Like, just let me snap my fingers and some static pop or
Yeah.
something like, fuck, man, I took that amount. Something cool should have happened.
Electrolyte. Yeah, we need that.
Right, like, but no, not really. Like, I think the most that I still notice now, like, I've noticed my nerves are pretty shot since then. Like, I've always had kind of semi bad nerves, but just my nerves, like in my hands, and like I get real, like the leg, where you're the dead leg or your legs asleep. I get that a lot in like my hands and my arms and shit. But
Oh, wow.
other than that, and of course, they told me that'd probably be one of the things is, your nerves. Because basically, from what I gathered, when you take that much electricity, all your muscles and everything in your body contract
Right.
because most of your shit's made of water. So all that shit basically contracted, and then the next 3 months, had to build itself back up, and in time, put strain. I mean, that's a shock to your nerve system. Jump starting a car, so to speak. So
That's fucking wild. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm yawning at you, dude. It's not you. It's like I'm fucking this coffee thing is still like I've been just tired for the last 3 days.
good,
It fucking sucks. I'm so sick of being tired. Yeah, what you also said that was your second time. What do you mind talking about the first time you almost died?
the craziest shit, man. Like I said, I can't make this shit up. So I
Let's
was
go.
probably 12 or 13 at the time. I was living with my grandmother, and I went to this church camp. It was like a week long. We went and stayed in tents and cabins and shit. And there was like paintball courses, and you'd go jet skiing, and like it was just this whole cool ass thing to go do for a week.
Sounds fun.
So we were walking, going from somewhere. I want to say we were about to go do paintball or something. and they had, those 3-man slingshots that they launch water balloons out of. So they were doing that like on the other side of this field. Well, we just happened to be walking across, and they had shot one off and then screamed, "Oh, look out!" And guess who looked in the direction to figure out what was going on? This guy. And it hit me square in my throat, dude. I walked afterward for like the next month. It looked like I let a catfish give me a hickey on my neck, man. Like it was bruised and just red and just, dude, swear to God. It hit me square in the throat, knocked me on my ass. I couldn't breathe.
Wow.
Like, yeah. Got to the nurse's tent, and basically it must have hit me on the side of my neck, I'm guessing. Because she told me if it would have hit me dead on my throat, it probably would have just crushed my larynx, like no doubt. I mean, dude, it had to have been at least half a football field away, if not more. This water balloon was just fucking slinging through the air.
Yeah, you don't think a water balloon as a lethal weapon, but
and so it's flying through the air about 60 miles an hour.
No shit, dude, that is fucked up, dude. I couldn't imagine.
You can't make this shit up.
Did you they say that your life flashes before your eyes before you die. Did you have any of that kind of stuff going?
Not with the electrocution, because like I said, I don't remember shit there. With that, I was just like, oh shit, like I knew I was about to get hit. I had no idea where, because I literally, it was look out, look, boom.
So you saw it come in split seconds, like, yeah. This is gonna hurt. That is so fucking fucked up, dude. I can't imagine. I can't imagine that that happening. I mean, like the closest thing that I've had to death is I almost killed myself with drugs. That was like it was the dumbest shit in the world. It was like literally I took too much drugs and drank too much alcohols, and fucking I woke up the next day. It was like, oh God. I was actually home because I lived in San Diego for a while, and so I was home for the holidays. And I remember it was Christmas, and I walk in the house, and I remember the first, I remember the first of the night, like I was just going nuts on fucking these pills. And then somebody else gave me some other pills that you're not supposed to take with the first pills. It was Oxycontin and methadone, okay? Like I railed a bunch of fucking Oxycontin. Then someone was like, "Here, have a wafer of methadone." And I was like, "Yeah." And I drank a whole bottle of wine. And we were supposed to,
like a great idea.
Oh my God, it was so stupid. And then we went to the strip club, which I didn't even make it in. Apparently they were just like, leave his ass. And then like I was worthless the whole night. And I honestly think that they put me on my stomach, which saved me. But they also, being in the extreme cold, I think actually, because I was back home in Ohio and it was winter, so like it was extremely cold. I feel like the extreme cold helped me from like actually like just falling out completely. And like I remember the next day, I woke up in my buddy's back seat, which I was the last thing I remember, I was in a truck. So like they must have wrestled my ass over there. And then I met Reina. Yeah, exactly. But no. And so I was in the back of my buddy's car. I get out and immediately my knees buckle underneath me. And that was like the first time I've ever had that happen. It was just like, bleh, and I just fell right into the snow. And I had to I had to make it in. Like I crawled up to my buddy's house. I'm just like, what the fuck? And he's like, you're an asshole. he's just like, I can't believe you're even alive. You're a dick. But yeah, I mean that those moments that I mean that was self-inflicted. That was actually the first time, and then I actually OD'd a couple times, which is so awful, where like it was always drugs. Jesus Christ, when I think about it, every time I've almost died was always drugs. Don't do drugs, kids, okay? Don't fucking do drugs. Don't do them. It's not fun. It's not cool. You're not going to be cool because you do a bunch of drugs and your friends have to fucking give you mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, okay? It's not cool when your lips turn fucking blue in front of the whole party, all right? It's not cool. It's not fun. It's not funny. It was kind of funny. It was kind of funny. But no, these moments, man, is okay if you say so. Thank you, Moving Dutchman. You listen to me. You listen good. Take it from the guy who's died several times from drugs. Fucking idiot, dude. It's so stupid. It's so stupid what you do when you're younger. Have you ever had any problems with? And I don't want you to self-incriminate here, so you could
Oh,
definitely
you're fine,
pass.
man.
Have
I,
you? Go ahead.
weed's always been my vice, but alcohol for a while, man, I got to a point where I was like a fully functioning alcoholic. And like when I say fully functioning, I'm talking about drinking a fifth or more of whiskey a day and like going to work a job and shit. Like,
God damn.
yeah. And it got to that point, like I come, again, talking about the family thing earlier, like that dynamic, I come, from that, like it is a very prevalent problem, drinking is, and I've watched several friends of mine and all of that, so it's like, it got to that point for me, I'd started becoming everything I didn't want to become. And I had that real, like, I don't need it. It's like I still drink to this day, but I know now, I drink on the weekends or, it might be a Wednesday and I'll go get, a beer or something like that. But it's like, it's never oh, I'm going to sit and buy this fifth and I'm going to see how fast I can drink it. And then let's see what else the night holds. Like, because it really did. It got to that point. I was waking up and, the first thing I do was roll over and grab my cup from the night before and take a shot. And then go down the street and get a couple slices of pizza and a big old fountain drink, and then I'd come back and eat my breakfast, and drink about half the soda and then fill it back up with whiskey, and on through the day I went.
Off to the races,
Yeah,
baby. No,
yeah.
dude, I was same here, man. Same here. So were you blacking out frequently?
Sadly, what's crazy is I never really, the only person that kind of got to see it from the other perspective is my fiance, who I'm with now.
That is sad.
And she had told me the first couple times when her and I got together before I moved up there with her, we would talk on video chat. And she was like, at first, until I saw you take a drink, she was like, I didn't really know. She was like, you just, you didn't slur your words. You weren't staggering everywhere. You were just, not necessarily normal, like, maybe you had smoked a little bit and, just tired and stuff. She's like, but then once I realized it, and to the point you were doing it, like, you hit it well. And I'm like, I'm sure, maybe to you on video, but I would have hated, honestly, looking at it to see it from anybody else's. Like, I was doing a lot of the dumb shit, dude. At that time, I was like riding a moped everywhere because that was my means of transportation. And dude, it was a very, very, very bad time in my life. But that's what it took for me was, again, like we talked about earlier, that, coming back to your core, like it just kind of, man, this is not what I want to do. This is drinking, I'm not saying drinking's horrible. I mean, it's bad for you if you do it the wrong way, but there's nothing wrong with drinking occasionally or going out with your friends and having a couple drinks. But when your go-to is a fifth of whiskey a day to function, it's
You may have a problem. No,
yeah,
no, it got I mean, I guess you're lucky in that sense that you didn't really black out and act like an asshole, and you're definitely
oh, I'm
lucky.
sure there were times that I don't remember. I'm not even gonna stunt, like, but it really, in moderate, man. I've always had that. I don't want to say an addictive personality, but I knew, like, the friends I had around me. I've watched so many people do various things and knew what I had came from, as far as your DNA and things like that. So it's like I knew to be cognizant of all of that. So when I would start doing things, whether it be drinking or, when I do other things and smoking weed when I was a teenager, like I always kept that in the back of my mind. I know I can go to the extreme with things. It's, just naturally ingrained in me so I always kind of kept that in moderation. And I think that's really what helped me from that point. Like, even when I was full blown alcoholic and drinking a fifth a day, I think I still in the back of my head knew, I thought I was functioning, like I said, but you'd never see. I knew when it got to that point when to stop. When I knew I was getting low on whatever bottle I was drinking on, okay, cool, that's going to last me for the rest of the night, and I'm not going to go get any more because I know what happens after that. I've done that a few times,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I had those times where, I thought it was a good idea to go to the bar after drinking about half of a fifth, and then went and drank about the other half of the fifth at the bar and about 7 or 8 beers, and got tore up, and then had to ride home in the back of my buddy's car and leave my moped parked in the back of the bar and hope like hell nobody stole it.
Yo, it's real like that sometimes, though. It
It
really
does.
is. It really is. I
So,
mean, the amount of times that allegedly I drank and drive, drunk and drove, drink and drive. I drinking and drove. I don't know. One of those is like, it's really sad, and like that was the problem. I never had that switch. It's like it seems like you went beyond, and you went further than you should have. But like for me, it was always like every time I'm blacking out, every time I'm out and yelling obscenities in the streets, I'm getting grabby with people, I'm talking shit to the wrong people. I was just a fucking maniac when it came to alcohol. It's terrible. It's not a good drug for me at all. And I definitely respect, people who can have a couple drinks, have a good time, get loose, get the vibes going, and go out and find yourself something to poke on or whatever the fuck it is, or eat for the ladies or all the people, go out and having a good time being young or being whoever you want to be. I fully support that. But once it gets to that point where it's just blacking out every fucking night, and it's like, yeah, like I was drinking a fifth of gin at one point every night. When it's gin, fucking gin, which I love whiskey, but I mean, my God, like I was just drinking way too much. And then, and as Moving Dutchman said, he pointed out, is like, and then I met my wife, and she really helped me pull it back. Well, she gave me the ultimatum. She was like, you can either stop drinking or I can leave you, you asshole. And I'm just like, oh god damn it. And I remember it was so pathetic too how I acted. Like I was like, you can't do this to me. You can't take this from me. It was so sad and pathetic, but it's like
sometimes that's what it takes, man.
that's what it takes. And at first I did it for her, and then eventually I did it for me. And now it's like, fuck it, dude. Like I don't need alcohol. And I've drank and over the past 7 or 8 years that I've been sober, it's been, I've drank probably like 3 times, and that's not a terrible amount, but a couple of those times it went a little too far. So it was like, fuck. So obviously it's not my friend, and I don't need to be drinking it. The problem is that I'll be like, oh, I can have a couple beers, right? I'm a grown ass adult, and then before you know it, it's like, give me the whiskey, I'm fucking going in deep, and then everybody's like, well, you ruined it. And to be honest, I went to I went back to San Diego. Maybe it was last year, and we went and visited some family, and I hung out with some friends, and it actually sucked because I started drinking, and I didn't even get to hang out with my friends. Like it was literally me just getting wasted, and I don't remember what even happened that night, and it fucking sucked. So like at the end of the day, if that's not another lesson to learn from your fucking mistakes, it's like, hey, you didn't even get to have fun with your friends who you haven't seen since the beginning of the pandemic. It was like 2 years and I hadn't seen these people, and I wasted it on being a wasteoid. So for me it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best decision, and it affected the next day and our vacation and stuff. So it just man, it's just better if I just stay away. Right. And I think that's the important thing here is like knowing where your limitations are and knowing what you can do with it. Like, obviously you found a balance, right? You found a balance of I can have a couple drinks and I don't need to go fucking balls to the wall every night and just drink myself into oblivion. You can go and have a few drinks, have a good time, talk your shit and come home and wake up and move on with your life. But my God, how was your hangovers from those fucking fists of whiskey? I mean, it seemed like you just drank off your hangover. So, but like,
I don't think I ever really. I think the worst was when I stopped. Like I think the first couple days after that, I had a nice little headache for a few days, and that because alcohol, man, a lot of people don't realize, to me, in my opinion, that's the worst drug out there. Not, like I said, not that I'm anti-alcohol. I'm not, not going to say I don't enjoy having a few drinks, but it is a monster because something about, there's so many different varieties of it. It's not like weed. Yeah, there's different flavors and different brands, but it's still weed. There's just in moderations of things, where alcohol is like, some people can drink beer and be cool, and those same people can't drink whiskey, or can't drink gin, or can't drink this, or can't drink that. So it's like, it's a crazy thing to begin with. So it's like, it's a very hardcore drug, in my opinion, but it like you said, it's, some people just can't at all. It's like, because it does, it's a weird thing, man, how it just takes a hold of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sad. Like, out of all the stupid things that I've been addicted to, alcohol was the hardest thing to stop, man. I mean, and I was addicted to heroin straight up, and fucking with needles and shit. So like, it was a fucking, but it was alcohol. At the end of the day, it was fucking alcohol. Alcohol poisoning is the worst. Well, would you know, Immortal? Have you been alcohol poisoned? I mean, I've definitely been IV'd before. I fucking passed out on the steps of the Toledo Museum because I got kicked out of a party because I drank all the King Cobras. It was a King Cobra party, first of all. And for all my overseas friends, if you don't know what King Cobra is, it's malt liquor. It's a very cheap form of malt liquor, and it comes in a 40-ounce, which I don't.
Edward 40 hands.
Oh yeah, Edward 40 hands, baby. No, was that Workaholics?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
That is funny. Who is it? Now I have to know who said that. Edward 40.
I'm pretty sure that's where it was from.
This shit's hilarious. Edward 40 hands. Oh, it's actually a game.
Oh, it's legit?
I think so. Urban Dictionary. Here we go, Urban Dictionary. A game designed to intoxicate all participants, where 40-ounce bottles of cheap malt beverages are fastened to each other's hands by adhesive tapes or super glue in some cases. The winner will have consumed all liquid in both bottles and usually celebrates by smashing the first bottle to remove it and using his free hand to urinate into the second one. Studies at this is some fucking hardcore shit, bro. Studies at the University of Colorado in Boulder conclude that the best way to be victorious in this game without fear of urinating yourself is to start the game with your penis already untucked out of your pants. Ladies Ladies in the study who opted to go in skirts without undergarments fared well, however, did not ever claim victory. You down for a game of Edward 40 hands? Nah, it's too cold to play Edward 40 hands. This is ridiculous. Edward 40 hands, a legend.
Got deep quick.
Another one is a legend among modern men. His name was Edward, and he had 40 hands. Okay, there we go. That's ridiculous.
All right.
Sometimes Urban Dictionary is just fun to read through. A drinking game in which participants tape a 40-ounce bottle of malt liquor to each hand and can't take a piss until they finish both. Yeah, that's more like it. I don't know what this other Colorado study shit is all about, but that's more what that's more about where I am on it.
They went hardcore with it, man. They went to the wrong party.
Right? Like any party where it's like, all right, man, you gotta tape these fucking 40s in. But you know what, bro? You might want to whip your dick out first, because you're gonna have to pee eventually. And it's like, what party? Where am I at? What happened?
Or no, bro, I'd rather whip my dick out with a fucking broken 40 in my fucking hand.
And then, like, who's smashing it? Like, Jesus Christ, you smashing it on your hand? Like, I don't understand the game.
Yeah, how does that work?
It was super glued to your hand. Wow, that's ridiculous. Quality, yeah. This is a
Oh,
quality
shit.
ass show, man. This is a quality ass show right here. We're talking real spit right here, folks. This is real spit, real spit. Edward 40 hands. Holla at your
Edward
boy.
fucking 40 hands.
Oh,
when we all started this about when you were talking about the alcohol poisoning, and then Immortal said poisoned or whatever, it made me think of that Nick Swartzen stand up where he's talking about. Could you imagine that? You know, you got to call somebody. He died. How did he die? He was poisoned by what? Sea breezes.
yo, but that is like the shittiest way to go, man. That is such a shitty way to go. Is just by your
That's a
own.
rough ball.
Right, right. Like and it's like most of the time it's just on your own behalf. You're just sitting there, blip, blip, blip. I think
But you have once you get to that point, you literally have. That's the thing with that. Like, I understand the mushrooms and the hallucinogens and all that. Like, you're, yes, to a point, you're in another dimension, so to speak, but you still have control. Every time I've ever done anything down that aspect, I've still known where I was to a point, knew where I was as far as I was still cognizant of what was going on. Once you get to that point with alcohol, it does not matter. You are not, the alcohol takes over. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You wake up the next morning and go, shit, when did we leave so and so's? And that was 3 fucking clubs ago and 5 car rides and an Uber home later. Like, and people, you know, that's the thing. That's why I guess I always kept that boundary, is just because I know I've done it a few times and enough to know, like, that shit sucks, man. It's not fun. It's fun to have a couple of shots with the boys and clown at the bar and watch a game and cut up and hang out, or, you know, at the barbecue, have a couple beers or whatever. But getting to the point that you're like, give me some nachos at the 7-Eleven at fucking 2 a.m., squeezing out fucking cheese out of a little cold ass machine. Like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten.
Yeah, heartburn later. No, my version of that would be like, "Where are the fucking nachos, you stupid bitch? I'm fucking hungry. Fuck this place."
With the nachos you already made in your hand.
Where the fuck are the nachos, you stupid cunt? Yeah, bro, you're talking to the corner again. You have nachos in your hand. Can we just go, please?
You're not even talking to the person that works there. You're talking like
talking to the Slurpee machine
behind you.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous, man. I fucking hate that. I hate that side of me. It is awful.
To that point, man, it sucks that we all have to. And again, that's about, you know, for everybody, man. We all have to learn and grow on our own. But, you know, once we get to that point, man, it's great because you finally start being you and understanding who you are as a person and how to enjoy your life, you know, accordingly. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like that shit. I remember when I started drinking as a teenager, it wasn't because I thought everybody was cool, and it was just like almost normal to me, you know, see everybody drinking something and doing that. And then, you know, you get older, you start looking around, and you're just like, but that's not normal. Like, that's not, you know, that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, so we all have to do it, man. I'm glad that you got to that point, man.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it, right? Vision, what's up, Vision? That's the guy from Fortnite. Are you from Fortnite, Obsouleet?
No, I don't.
No, Vision. It's not. This is Obsouleet.
I mean, I play Fortnite with my kids, but, you know.
I don't even know the reference, honestly. I've seen my son play it, but I don't fucking know it. And by the way, this is Obsouleet, everybody. Go click on that link and find his latest album, which is called The Dystopia of an Emcee. You can find physical copies at that website. You can find all his links to his social media and all that good shit. Go follow up Obsouleet. Go do yourself a favor. Go do yourself a solid and get yourself some Obsouleet in your life. Yeah, the other side of all of that is that you know, coming back from that, if you do the work, you can find like a very meaningful, like I became an actual musician after I quit drinking alcohol. Like I was actually able to work as a musician because I wasn't getting kicked out of the band or fucking up the set because I'm too wasted to play, you know? Like the life after being raging alcoholic drug addict, the life afterwards was it is a million times better than being a fucking fuck up drunk alcoholic asshole ever was. I mean, it was just it's you know, it's being able, because in my mind I wasn't able to go out and be and have a good time with if I wasn't drinking, right? Like if I had to go to the bar sober, like that would be horrible. I want to go to the bar and fucking be drunk and hang out and fucking, you know, do whatever the fuck I want. And it was never fun. It was always me just getting kicked out of the bar or getting my friends kicked out of the bar or you know, trying to, you know, get in a fight that I cannot win. I'm not a fighter. I'm not fucking gonna win this. You know, like it's so stupid. So like the other side of that is like, fuck, man, is who you are, and getting sober and doing the mental work, doing the, you know, the work on myself really is just the most beneficial part about the whole thing. I mean, I wish I wouldn't have wasted all those years as you know, drinking and being ridiculous, but you know, you live your life, that you live the decisions you make, and that's whatever that's what happened. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I choose this way more than that. So fuck it, you know. I'm okay
Yeah,
with being the sober guy.
that was me, man. Like you have to, like you said, learn to, you know, not necessarily be okay with it, but like at the end of the day, you have to learn to, you know, I don't, like you said, you hate that you wasted so much time. Like, and I look at a lot of that too. And then I look at the aspect, well, if I didn't do that, then I'd probably still be doing dumb shit now. And then I'd be that much more behind. So it's like, in another sense, like I'm kind of glad I got all my dumb shit over with. And it's like, because like you said, man, so much beautiful shit came after that. Like you had, you know, we all got to learn, man. It's like I watched friends and family and everybody around me, you know, with the alcohol, especially, like, you know, destroy a lot of my friends' lives and all that shit and what have you. And it still didn't change or stop me from drinking a fifth of whiskey every day. You know, we all have to live and do our own shit in order to learn from it, because otherwise we're like, well, that's just them. I'm fine. I don't have a problem while you're eating those 2 a.m. nachos standing in the parking lot waiting for your fucking Uber. You know, like if you called an Uber, you know, granted, like I said, I mean, I drove around my moped drunk, which is not any better really, but you know, it's like, that, you know, it's bad, man, because then at that point it's no longer your life that you're just controlling. You know, you are putting everybody around you at risk as well. So
Yeah,
it's a whole
absolutely.
different monster.
Oh, so what's coming up for Obsolete? As we start to wrap up our wonderful discussion that we've been having, what's coming up for Obsolete? I know you have some gigs coming up. Is there anything that you want to you know, talk about in that manner?
So really right now I got a few more shows lined up. I got 2 more next month. I'm helping some buddies host a competition. I'm a guest judge on that. We got some pretty dope prizes for that going on in Clarksville, Tennessee. Then I've
Is
got
this a
another
live?
show.
This is a live gig that's going on.
Yeah, live
Oh,
show where we're
sweet.
doing, it's like it's going to be a competition, basically, kind of like we're going to do one round, you get a song, and then we're going to pick, depending on you know, how many people enter, you know, who moves on, then we'll get down to a chord. But we're going to do those once a month at this venue that we're running out of here in Clarksville for now. And then I've got a show after that, which is going to be a lot of these acts that, you know, we work with here around here, at this same venue that we're doing that competition. And that's pretty much the main venue, other than where I go do stuff in Louisville, that I'll be doing shows and stuff at. And then we're bringing out Eternal Wu-Tang's Killer Bees down to Clarksville, Tennessee in May, which is going to be fucking dope, man. Shout out to him, man. I talked to him quite a bit here lately. He reached out to me a couple weeks back, building a good relationship with him, which is dope. And then other than that, man, I'm trying to, I got invited to make an appearance at the gathering, like come show my face and talk to a few different people at the gathering this year. But
Wait, the
I got some
gathering
more
of the
things.
Juggalos? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So, and I'm trying to work in where even if they don't let me perform on day one, I'm bringing all the homies and we're going to perform in the fucking parking lot or some shit, bro. Like we're going to go. I know you see the hoodie I'm wearing, man. That's my other guys. Obviously, shout out to Immortal. I know he's still hanging around in here. Probably that's my guys at Enigmatic, man. Love them fucking dudes. Aaron, that's my homie, man. I wouldn't, he started this whole thing and don't really realize it, man. Back in October when he reached out to me after I did the Rise of the Phoenix Festival, I believe it was. He kind of put a lot of things in motion, man, and really kind of lit a fire under my ass when I signed with them guys. And this city, like I said, Gas Records, I'm the VP of that with my buddy Vegas. We're kind of slowly taking over this scene down here where I'm at, man. The last couple of shows I've been doing, I look around, there's 10, 15, 20 people running around in these hoodies or the full-blown outfits and shit. So, just a lot of stuff lining up, man, this year, especially coming up. And, trying to make a lot of shit shake, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's Clarksville. Now, that's where you're at right now?
So I'm from Hopkinsville. Clarksville's the
In
closest.
Tennessee.
Like I'm trying to revive the fucking scene here in Hoptown as well, but I've got more connections in Clarksville and Louisville right now, so I'm working those scenes and building up those relationships around there, and then slowly just kind of.
How from Louisville are you?
2.5 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Louisville's awesome. It's a really nice city.
I go up there. I performed there probably 5 or 6 times last year, and I've been up there 2 or 3 times this year already. My favorite spot up there, man. Anybody watching this that's closer goes to Louisville, man. The WWME Music Hall. That's the fucking place that goes down up there. Those are my people. I'm actually, me and Aaron are trying to work out some stuff, bring some guys from the label. Once the rest of this crazy COVID shit dies down, putting on some shows and shit up there and stuff later on in the year too. So
yeah,
like I said, man, just really trying to help these guys push what they're doing and push what we're doing at the Gas Records and just building a community, man, and bringing good music and good entertainment to people and being authentic with it at the same time. Like this is what we do, man. Music's a great hobby and it brings people together in various ways.
Yeah. Immortal, thank you so much for hanging out. You go and get your kids, bro.
Yeah, go get your kiddo, bro. Much love. I'll holler at you tonight, homie.
All right. Well, Immortal. Jesus, come on. Obsouleet, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate, all the setbacks and all the time changes and shit. So I appreciate your patience. I had such a great conversation, and I hope you enjoyed yourself as well. And again, everybody, make sure you guys are going out and supporting these guys, and go click around the website as well. This is the Obsouleet. This is the Immortal Radio Obsouleet page, but you can click around there. Click around all the awesome artists that are on this label. We've had a few of them on this show, so come on and get yourself some Obsouleet.
A lot of dope talent over there, man. Y'all definitely click around on that page because there's a lot of talent over at Enigmatic with us guys, man.
Yeah, man. They're killing it. All right, man. Thank you so much again. Everybody, give Obsouleet a round of applause and send him on his way. Thank you so much, Obsouleet. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, man. There he is. Obsouleet. Not obsolete yet, folks. Not obsolete yet. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was talking about drinking and shit. What's fun about talking about drinking now is that it doesn't even sound appealing to me anymore. Like I don't even care about it anymore. Like it's not really something that I'm really interested in pursuing that much. But I do find myself in situations where I'm like, I could use a drink. I could use a drink, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me. I remember when I first stopped drinking, it was